many of you are looking forward to hearing from Doc and the coil. As you know, they're all for sale at this point, 185 euros. And I know he wanted to really go into this slide right here.
Awesome.
Right. So I'm going to do a very quick recap of what Marcus spoke about during the most recent Frequency Friday, which was really excellent. I really encourage everybody to register for the Frequency Fridays because it's one of those, they're not recorded per se, so but the good news is that if you actually register for the Frequency Friday, you can go back in to your link at any time afterwards and still hear the entire Frequency Friday. So say you're working and you can't attend. If you register for it that evening, for example, when you come home, you can actually click the link and re-listen to the Frequency Friday. It's so important because the Frequency Friday is the time when Marcus always speaks, usually for at least 30 minutes of that Frequency Friday. And, you know, as we all know, Marcus has so much information to deliver for us, and it's really important information. And therefore, again, I highly recommend if you missed the one this past week with the coil, I'm just going to spend a few moments just recapping what Marcus talked about. He started out his speaking about the fact that when the coil was an idea in Marcus's head, he wanted to make sure it could do what he said it could do before he actually offered it for sale. So what happened is Healy created a randomized controlled experiment with a researcher. They're actually writing this up and they're going to be publishing this information in one of the journals because the results of this research were just so far beyond what they expected it to be. And basically what happened is, if you recall, back a number of months ago, there was a call put out to everybody in the field. If you want to get involved in an experiment, sign up, and we're going to randomly choose 300 people. And based on those 300 people, we're going to divide them into a couple of different groups. Some people, you know, will answer a questionnaire that's a standardized European questionnaire on health with the Healy without doing anything else. Some people will add the coil, some people will do nothing, and basically they matched those three groups together and saw that the results after using the coil was extremely beneficial, more so than there's a standard in science when they do experiments, and it is far surpassed. And so then Marcus felt very confident that the coil itself was going to be something that was definitely going to be beneficial to everybody that used it. So again, that's a really important piece. Plus, it's going to be published in scientific journals that we will have access to. So if anyone ever asks us about the Healy or the coil, etc., we can guide them to one of these recognized scientific journals to say, hey, look, an experiment was actually done to determine what the results were, and here are the results. So I think that's really great for all of us that always ask, show us the studies, like a lot of professionals like to see. So that was the first part. Then he talked a little about the actual process of the coil itself. And basically, as I've said in the past, the coil is based on two Tesla coils that are offset to each other by about 180 degrees. It's a magnetic field. These are two magnetic fields that are superimposed on one another. And basically, when they're placed in that 180-degree field, they cancel each other out, but they create what's called, and there's a number of terms for it, but they create what's called either a vector potential, sometimes referred to as a scalar potential, also known as a quantum potential. And the key word here is potential, because potential is a word that in quantum physics allows for the compression or the saving of energy, which is exactly what this coil is able to do. And then he went into this chart, which I really love, because this chart, let's see here, it has two sides, as you can see, and what on the left side, what's great about this is it really shows us in terms of the colors how the different ways we can use the Healy fall into this whole picture here. Because we have, you know, on the very bottom, we're talking about the molecular body, which is basically the physical body. Also, he referred to it as the material body. He made a really cool joke about Madonna's song, Living in the Material World, and how it relates to us. And as we can see here, we start to transition from a material body, we have an electromagnetic body, then we move into the quantum processes, the bioenergetic field, and the information field. And so on the left here, you can see that when you use the microcurrent part of the Healy, in other words, with the cables, that we're primarily working in this field down here, which is the field of matter, the field of the physical. And that's why I've always said that whenever you're dealing with a specific physical condition that a person has, it's always great to start out with using microcurrent, if at all possible, in that situation. He also said, and again, I totally agree with this, that, you know, there are many people, and there will be people now that get the coil and love the coil, but as he and I always said, microcurrent has a specific function on the body, and that it really does a lot of things with the cell membrane potential. And it's very important. It raises that potential. It increases the alkalinity of the cell. It increases the energy in the mitochondria. You don't want to bypass that. He recommended that you still do a few microcurrent sessions every single week, and that's something that I absolutely support that Marcus says. So even though we have the coil now, it's not a substitution for the microcurrent. There are a lot of people out there, the way it was phrased, they think that now that we have the coil, we no longer have to use the cables and use the microcurrent. That's not accurate. We still have to use the coils or use the cables if we want to deliver microcurrent. Because as you can see here, the coil now works more in this level here, which is more of the electromagnetic body and the quantum body and the bioenergetic field. And then, of course, the resonance works directly in the information field and to the global field. And so we're basically, you know, the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the soul is how we see this. There's a really great transition here that allows us with our Healy to work in every one of those realms, which is really what I feel separates the Healy apart from every other frequency device that's out there right now, is the ability to work on all of these levels. And now with the addition of the coil, we are able to, you know, what Marcus refers to as bridging the gap, which is what we see here. It's bridging the gap from the physical and moving all the way through into the global information field where everything in the universe is connected. It's the place where quantum entanglement occurs. And now with the coil, we have access to all of those. I really love my coil. I've been using it now for the last 3 months as part of the product development team. And for me, the favorite program that I personally like to use with the coil is the coherence program. And it's also best when you use the coil, by the way, to make sure that the Healy is directly touching a part of your body. And as Marcus also shared with us, you can place the coil on different parts of your body to really affect those individual areas. So that's a little summation. Hopefully you get a little bit more understanding. Those of you who didn't attend now have a little summary. And again, this chart will be available for all of us, and I really love this chart. It really summarizes everything that we do with our Healy.
I love this. I mentioned this earlier, guys, how this is before we started recording the call, how the resonance program, the coil, and the cables interact. And you'll see the coil, it actually merges the information field, or what the resonance speaks to, and the cables, in which the microcurrent speaks to. You see how the coil bridges on the far left of the screen. You see those three arrows that show the cables, the coil, and the resonance. So this gives an indication of how that is bridging both the global information field all the way down to the molecular body.
Right. It's the bridging the gap from the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And so we are able to affect now every level of human consciousness that's available.
Great stuff.
Exciting.
Great stuff.
very exciting.
Okay, Adriana, turning it back over to you to be on time.
Okay. Well, I don't know if there's any questions that you guys pointed out or saw regarding the coil that we should address.
Oh, I know a question that keeps coming up, and let me address it now because it's an important question and it comes up frequently on a daily basis out there. You know, there are certain contraindications that we have for the Healy, and those contraindications, for example, on people that have epileptic seizures or have certain implants or things of that nature, those are only referring to when we do microcurrent. Whenever we use other aspects of the Healy, using the resonance to do vibrations or using the coil, those specific contraindications that apply to things like pacemakers, epileptic seizures, pregnant women, they don't apply when we're working in the fields outside of the physical. So I wanted to clear that with people because that's a question that I get asked probably on a daily basis. So it is safe to use the coil in those areas where before we couldn't with microcurrent.
Well, again, very exciting. Everybody's thanking you. I think another question is always, is there different, I think you explained it, but are there programs that I am not able to do with the coil?
Yes, thank you,
and have to
Adriana.
do?
Yes, yes. The programs to use for the coil are easily notated. They're the ones that have the little 3 circles. When you're running a program, you notice you have your circle, and to about like 2 o'clock, there are these little 3 tiny circles to the right. Those are the individualized microcurrent frequency programs, and those are the ones that you would be running with the coil. The ones that are the IMF programs, which are the ones that are notated when you run the program at about 2 o'clock, to the big circle that you look at, where we look for the white line there. There's 3 little circles on the right. Those are the IMF programs, and those are the ones that are applicable to the coil.
Awesome.
We do have, folks, we just had a Tech Tip Tuesday last night. This is every week. So you can take a look on those recordings are available. You can jump on those calls live. We do a chat forum there as well. And we have the mydevicehelp.com, where Stephen Keller and I did hours worth of a video that will help support some of the common questions that are out there about the apps. So please use those resources, mydevicehelp.com or the Tech Tip Tuesday. We kind of have a limited time here, and there's a lot of questions. I know this is brand new.
And this is just a chart that I had posted just again to reiterate what Jake said at the very beginning of our today's meeting, which is that the difference between the version 1 and version 2 is easy because I have both actually, because I got involved in October of 2019. At that point, we had the Healys that had the little cutouts, and the reason we had those little cutouts was so that we could put a lanyard and hang it around our neck, but then they decided and developed that they would have another way of doing that. So pretty much everyone in the US that purchased from May 1st on is actually working with the version 1 coil, and that's the one that you should be getting. And it's, like I said, it's very easy to see. Look at your Healy. If it has the notch, it's version 2. If it doesn't have the notch, it's version 1.
Mm-hmm. And one last question that I want to address, the price. Again, I mentioned earlier on the call, our prices are posted in euros and they vary depending on the currency exchange. I understand that could be confusing sometimes, but we always share the euro cost, as you can see here.
And the approximate cost in US dollars right now, and again, it's approximate because it changes all the time, is about $225. For the coil
so
in
they
US
said
dollars.
On Friday it was 224 and today is 200 and change.
Right.
So again, it depends on the currency.
Right.
We have
and
to
the
do
pet bundle, by the way, is, in my understanding, is staying the same. So it doesn't matter if you purchase it this month or next month. So get up there and get your pet bundle.
Pet bundle is great. It allows you, if people are wondering the difference between the pet bundle and programs and using the regular Healy, as I've mentioned in former talks, My dog had an ACL injury, and in order to heal that, which I successfully did in a very short period of time, instead of having him have to go through surgery, I used microcurrent on him. The pet bundle allows you, it's a special kit that has certain electrodes. Obviously, we can't use the same bracelet electrodes or sticky pads that we use on ourselves, on our animals, because of the fur. And so I worked along with the product development team to develop a special product that can be used so that pets can get the benefit of the microcurrent, where again, you know, with injuries and things on a physical level, microcurrent is key. So yes, you can, if you choose to, use the human programs and but you can't really use the human microcurrent. But besides having the ability to do microcurrent on your pets, which again to me is very important, especially those of you who have horses out there, extremely important to be able to do microcurrent. But also the programs themselves are geared towards animals, because for example, if your pet has fleas and you want to treat them, what program in the, you know, the human set of programs really relates to fleas? Not really any, but in fact there are programs specifically in the animal set that would relate to things like fleas or any types of animal issues that are not akin or the same as human issues. So there is a benefit of purchasing the animal kit for a microcurrent, and also for the specific programs that are related to animals that are not necessarily issues that we have as humans.
Absolutely.
All
Somebody
right.
asked me to put that on the screen again. Here it is. And thank you, Dr. Valerie. She had another good, valid point regards price. Is also our taxes vary per state and city. So that somebody might have told you specific price, not knowing where you reside or what would be the total specifically. So that's another factor that could vary.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I want to show you guys real quickly here. Doc Steve talked about a very specific little icon that is next to the program.
You want me to stop share?
Yeah, I want to show you quickly what that looks like. Let's see here real quick. So I want you guys to see what, there we go. Let's take a look at the picture. Any one of your programs has this little icon right here to the side of your program. Okay, this is one that are optimized for the coil. That's what that little icon means. Okay, so you'll see this is just the Gold Cycle page, but any one of your program groups, your pages, will see these little little dots that Doc was talking about, right?
That's the IMF programs, the individual microcurrent frequency programs specifically.
Yeah, and so
Also known as.
They're going to be optimized for the coil. So so take note of that. That's what they look like. Hopefully that helps you guys. All right. There we go.
Any final questions about the coil?
I think we're good, guys.
Okay, great.
PV for the coil.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, again.